Welcome to Under 8 Hockey Fundamentals. I'm Michael Houghton and this is Lesson 1, Dribbling and Tackling. Before we get on to today's lesson, basically I'm going to be doing 6 lesson plans over the next 6 weeks, which include dribbling and tackling, which is today's lesson, push passing, goal shooting, advanced stick work, 2v1s, and pass and move. All our lesson plans will follow the same format, and the idea is if you can follow and adapt to this format, then you'll be able to hopefully write your own lesson plans after doing these ones. So basically we'll do a warm-up, which will typically take 10 minutes. We'll have some sort of fun activity, which will take 12.5 minutes, some sort of drill, which will take 12.5 minutes, another fun activity, again another 12.5 minutes, and a game at the end. So this is loosely based on the play, practice, play principle, but adapting it for a younger age group. And what you'll notice is ultimately our drill is going to be the thing or the skill that we're going to try and get across, but we're going to put 2 fun sort of game-based activities around it so that hopefully the kids will be engaged, and we're just looking for them to hopefully get 10 or 12 minutes out of them to come away with some sort of skill from the lesson plan. And so that's our basic hockey structure: a warm-up, 2 fun activities, a drill, and a game at the end. So for our lesson plan for today, we're going to look to do a warm-up of cups and saucers. We're then going to move on to our activity 1, which is going to be hockey bulldog. Our drill will be a tackle box. Our second activity will be a game that I call 3 islands. We'll then have a game to finish, and that's our hockey session. So let's break it down in detail. So for a warm-up, we're just going to play cups and saucers. Most coaches would be familiar with this. If not, most kids would be familiar with this. And it's very, very simple. You just use some cones. So I happen to have a cone here. Okay, and you're looking to have one team that's going to try and make all the cones stand that way, which we call a cup, and one team make the cone stand that way, which is a saucer. All right, so obviously do check your COVID restrictions at the time if kids are allowed to touch hockey equipment, but if they are, this is a good one to play. You basically pair kids off into 2 teams, one trying to turn the cones that way, the other trying to turn it that way. You scatter all your cones, and then at the very end you count which team has won based on the number of cones that way versus that way. Very, very simple. Do some stretches with the kids. I think this is really important. Look, especially if they're under 6s, they're not really going to be stretching anything per se, but they're at least getting to the habit of understanding that a warm-up involves stretches. And then this is always a great one, particularly with young kids. You're always going to have some latecomers, so they're not really going to have missed anything other than a quick warm-up after the 10 minutes. We're then going to move on to activity 1, which is a game that I call Hockey Bulldog. I'm just going to move myself up a little bit there. So this is just like normal Bulldog. So basically we have players line up along a baseline. They have a hockey stick and they have a ball. It's probably important to note at this stage that if you are coaching kids that are new to hockey, then maybe before playing this game, just go through and do the fundamentals, the basics, how you hold the stick, the basic dribbling, the basic tackling, and so on. So just obviously make sure that your kids are familiar with it, but even so, this is a great first up game for new kids to play, and even more advanced kids who've been playing a while will love this as well. You're basically going to look to have a defender or 2 depending on your group size. They're going to look to try and tackle the balls as the players dribble. The idea being that if a player is tackled, they then become a defender, and you just repeat that, the kids dribbling from one side to another until there's ultimately a winner. But obviously just note to control the number of defenders. So this game can get out of hand a little bit. And as I mentioned, it's a great technique because we're going to make sure that all our kids, and I should just make a note here, that this part of this, making sure that the kids are holding the stick correctly, they're dribbling correctly, they're tackling correctly, that's all called something called technical correction. All right, so if we see a kid who's not holding the stick correctly, that's where we want to go. Hey, look, Johnny, maybe swap hands or get your left hand to the top of the stick. So we're looking for one-on-one correction here just to make sure that the kids get it. And a lot of this can be repetitive. You might be repeating this to the same child over and over again, but we're eventually going to get it through to them that that's what we need to be doing to get our hockey technique correct. And again, we have 12.5 minutes, so repeat it several times over. And I've set this up so we can just do a very quick demonstration of this. Okay, so in this case, I have a baseline here, and I have a baseline here. This has just been set up with 4 cones. And then I've got all my players here. So the players in black, or the players are represented by the black dot. Obviously, the yellow dot is the ball, all right? And so when you say Bulldog, in this case, I've got 2 defenders. Okay, note how they're not standing square to each other. They've actually got one in front of the other. That's quite important if you can get that, because that's how we defend in hockey. All right, once we say bulldog, the players are going to go this way, all right, and they're going to try and stop at the baseline. If a player is tackled and the ball's taken off them, they become a bulldog, and then basically we wait until the players wait here. Once they've hit the baseline here, and then when we say bulldog again, they go back. And we just repeat this over and over again until maybe there's only one or two players. Okay, as I said, just be careful by how many defenders you have. This game can get out of control. It's not really good having 2 attacking players here and 20 defenders. That's not going to be good. It's just a bit of a safety issue. So just control that in terms of making sure that the game is safe. Okay, we're then going to go into our drill, and this is really the key thing that we're trying to get out of our lesson plan. All right. So we kind of mask the drill within a couple of fun activities. A tackle box is really, really simple. Okay, you're going to set up multiple stations depending on how many kids you have. All right, so you can set up multiple of these boxes. It's just a simple box. This might be 2 meters by 2 meters. You know, maybe 3 by 3 if you want to make it bigger, depending on the age of your kids and their ability. All right, and basically you just have one defender in the middle, and I would recommend that this defender actually start with by being a coach. All right, so we just have our kids attacking the coach and then putting a kid in the middle. Whoever you put as a defender, I would make sure that they have a gum shield. Okay, it's really, really important to make sure this player has a gum shield, because this is a dangerous position to be in. And we're just trying to get the kids to run the ball and get it through the tackle box. All right, so just trying to get them to do one-on-one running and run around, and we're looking for our defender to make a good, clean, non-stick tackle. Okay, so what's a non-stick tackle? Basically, in hockey, we're trying to get the defender to get their stick down on the ground and either slide the stick into the ball first, or ideally position the stick as the defender is running so that the defender runs onto the stick. All right, what we're trying to prevent is the child basically almost hitting their stick into the other player's stick. In hockey, this is a foul and would be a free against them. All right, so we're looking for that. So start off with the coach here, have the kids trying to run around, okay, and then maybe move in and put some kids as defenders in here, okay. One final note is our preference when we come to teaching the attacking is we want our players to go around the right side of the defender. All right. This is because this player will have a stick that they will typically be holding this side, and we're trying to get our players to move around the right-hand side. Okay, you'll find that as a defender, it's much easier to tackle a player on this side because our stick will do the tackling for us. Whereas this side, we have to play a reverse stick. It's a lot harder. So try and try and encourage your players to tack up the right-hand side where you can. Okay, we then move on to activity 2, and this is a game that I just happened to make up when I was coaching some little kids a few years ago. It's basically called 3 Islands, okay, and we basically, the bigger the area, the better almost. We basically have, you see here I've set up 3 different islands with 4 cones each, and they're all different colors. So that's kind of important for this game. All right, and we'll get each child to start with a ball, and we'll start them on one of the islands. And all we do is we're just going to tell them to go to a combination of islands. So in this case, we might say red, orange, and we blow a whistle to go. The kids will dribble through red island and over to orange island, and we want them to station the ball in the middle of orange island. Very, very simple. All right. You'll notice that I started anti-clockwise. There's a reason for that. I'll explain that in a minute. All right, and basically we're just looking to see, and what I normally do is something fun where I do something like, right, the first one into the box who stops their ball in the island will qualify for a final. So I often do that. It's quite fun. Okay, so in this case, we've got 4 players. So yeah, let's pretend that we had 8 players. I might say the first 4 will qualify for the final, right? We rinse and repeat it. So next time we might go blue, red, and then maybe the next child who hasn't qualified will win. So if the same child wins again, well, they've already qualified, so we now take second place and they qualify. And then at the very end, we then maybe we do the top 4, we'll get to do one final version, or we do the bottom 4 do one and the top 4 do one. So we kind of get a little bit of a knockout going, and they seem to like that. Again, it depends on your age group. If it's under 6s, you probably don't need to do that. The under 8s will likely enjoy that. Finally, I mentioned about the anti-clockwise. So you'll find with this activity, dribbling in an anti-clockwise direction is far easier. This is because we're dribbling on our open side the whole time. So it's just easier to turn the ball. If you don't believe me, just try it. Right? Pick up a hockey stick and try it. You will see quick enough that when it comes to dribbling this side, it is a lot more complicated because, um, sorry, that was anti-clockwise again. I'll go the right way. Looking at myself, wondering what was going on. When it comes to dribbling clockwise, it's a lot harder because when we come up to this turn, we have to do something called an open side turn, right? Where we even need to do our open side turn, which we need to kind of run around the ball, or we need to turn our stick and move the direction. So it's just a lot harder. So try and do both, but start with the anti-clockwise movement and then move into the clockwise movement. And again, try it for yourself. You'll see. Again, this is kind of fundamental stuff. We want to see the kids kind of run around the ball, keep it on their open side, but have to run around the ball to keep it moving. That's our preference. Okay. Alternatively, they'll have to turn the stick over, but it's not as a preferred method. Open side turn there is much better. So again, it's a nice fundamental to be introducing on the first session. And look, we're almost there. So the last thing we do is we just go into a game. The key here is we really want to keep these games as small as possible, right? Three versus three and 4 versus 4 is our ideal scenario. 5 versus 5, not so ideal, but it's passable. And as I say here, if you've got more than 10 players in your group, split the group up to 2 or more different games. All right. So if you've got 12 players, 2 games of 3v3 is better than 1 game of 6v6. All right. And then like 15 players, right? So there you might have to go 3 games of 5, but you might go a couple of games of 3v3 and 1 of 4v4 or something like that. So just mix it up, but try and keep your numbers small. Okay, you should have at least a couple of coaches in your group. So have one coach take each game. For safety as well, there's lots of factors for small games. Safety is probably the biggest one, but also the smaller the game, the more touch of the ball each player is getting. Right? Sometimes I see games of 10v10 or something like that. Right? There's too many kids going home without touching the ball there. Right? So we really want to keep those games nice and small to make sure that the players get lots of touches and we're keeping everything safe. Finally, I'll be posting 6 lesson plans over the next 6 weeks, so do subscribe to stay in touch as new lesson plans come out. And I also have lesson plans for older kids. There's part of my practice play sessions, so if you do want to check them out, if you're coaching older kids, then that is recommended as well. All right, thanks again for watching.